What is up, people of YouTube? Welcome to Explore Travel Capture. My name's Cody, and today we're talking about Tamron's 35 to 150 millimeter lens, and this is what I call a moneymaker lens, covering some of the most popular focal lengths, all while maintaining a fast aperture. This lens truly does it all, but it comes at a massive trade-off, which is size. This chonk monster of a lens weighs 2.6 pounds, which is just absolutely insane. And you have to wonder, is it worth it? Now, I've been utilizing this lens professionally for over a year and taken it on a number of adventures. So with that in mind, I want to first start off comparing it to what I think has been the gold standard of zoom lenses, the 24-70 2.8. Now, I've owned many 24-70 2.8 lenses, and their biggest advantage is size. These lenses weigh roughly 1.5 pounds, take up less space, and can even be balanced on a gimbal. The other advantage you get is the extra width at 24 millimeters. It makes a huge difference. See what I mean? Lost a ton of space. But what the 24-70 can't do is produce the same shallow depth of field that we creators love so much. At the 35 millimeter end, it starts at an f2 aperture, creating unreal shallow depth of field on the wide end. And even at 50 millimeters, this maintains a 2.2 aperture, which means this lens is able to compete with two of the most popular prime lenses any photographer or cinematographer uses. And with double the reach of a 70 millimeter lens at 150 millimeters, you can get even more intimate shots and even get some wildlife shots you couldn't hope to get with a 24-70 lens. Now, the primary reason I need a versatile zoom lens like this is for the type of filmmaking I do, which is a lot of documentary and event style shoots. Whether I'm shooting BTS of friends working or capturing once-in-a-lifetime adventures, during shoots like this, changing lenses could cost valuable time and an important shot could be missed. Usually when I need versatility and to change focal lengths, it's on the longer end. I tend to shoot further away from the action, letting my subjects do their thing. This is why I prefer this lens and having the extra reach versus my 24-70. When it comes to run and gun shooting with this lens, I have mixed feelings about the weight. Honestly, I feel like the heaviness of the lens helps me with locked off handheld shots and keeping it stable. When I get to movement though, I'll even use Sony's active image stabilization to try and track movement, but I'll end up with micro jitters sometimes. That's where the downside of this lens weighing so much and me not being able to put on a gimbal becomes a problem. It really is impossible to balance this lens on a gimbal. I've used it at the 35 end and I've sometimes pushed it to 50, but anything more than that and it becomes front heavy and your gimbal gets all out of whack. So getting any kind of big stable shots while maintaining the versatility of the zoom range is just not an option, unfortunately. That is one of the benefits of the 24-70 G Master. The new one is able to be balanced perfectly on a gimbal and you get used to the full zoom range. I can't stress enough how much one of the biggest drawbacks of this lens is the weight. I even once tried to take it backpacking, and although it gave me a lot of flexibility in terms of the shots I was able to capture on this trip, it ended up being just a dead weight on my shoulders, and the 24-70 would have been better for hiking around. Every pound matters when you are hiking for distance and carrying a bunch of other equipment. Day-to-day professional production shoots, an extra pound isn't gonna kill you, but hiking and doing a bunch of outdoor stuff, if you're carrying this weight, that extra pound makes all the difference. Now that we've talked at length about how I use this lens and my mixed feelings on it, let's talk about what's really important, and that is image quality. Starting with sharpness, this lens is incredibly sharp, even wide open at f2. At the telephoto end, the lens still remains tack sharp, providing stellar details at 2.8. When it comes to distortion on this lens, I find it negligible. Honestly, I'm shooting video, so the fact that I'm not seeing heavy distortion in my footage is very great for me. You don't have to worry about distortion on this lens. Where the image quality can really fall apart though is with ghosting. I found that if light hits the lens from certain angles, it will wash out the entire image. You can see how this lens handles ghosting with my not so bright aperture light. But in the real world, depending on how the sun hits the lens, you could have a completely washed out image. I often like to do backlit shots, which are not impossible to get with this lens, but it is very important to move around and find the right angle to maintain good contrast. When I utilize this lens on shoots, I often have a matte box, which will eliminate most of the ghosting. I do want to mention the provided lens hood will not allow you to mount an ND filter for whatever reason. I ended up misplacing the lens hood that came with it somewhere in my office, but that is something of note. I couldn't put the lens hood on with an ND filter. Now this lens being $1,800 makes it quite pricey, especially when you compare it to Sigma's 24-70 at $1,200. It can be really hard to justify the extra $600 to get this 35-150. So I'm gonna make it as simple as I can. If you're looking for one all-purpose lens and you're looking to get your first professional lens, go with the 24-70 2.8. Honestly, it's gonna be much more versatile having that 24mm on the wide end, just because it'll allow you to shoot wide, and the 70 and the range all in between will pretty much get you 90% of the way towards professional shoots. Where this lens really thrives in your bag is if you've already got the wide end covered. But there you have my thoughts on the 35-150. Let me know what you guys think. I do know that Samyang came out with a 35-150 version of this lens. I haven't personally tested it, but my friends have reviewed it and said it doesn't even come close to as sharp as the Tamron. And I could have saved $1,000, but my friends who had gotten the pre-production models told me it was too soft and I was better off going with this and getting more bang for my buck. So personally, I would not get the Samyang version, but that's up to you guys. Hopefully you appreciated this review because I appreciated your time, and I will see you guys in the next video.